Hey, what's going on, everybody? Josh Cantwell here, CEO at Strategic Real Estate Coach, Yellow Jacket Properties and Freeland Ventures. And we're back with another interview, another expert interview, and I'm excited to be talking with all of you today, specifically about marketing and wholesaling, about doing deals for quick cash. And I have on the line with me today my good friend Joe Nemeth. Joe is also in my local market, and we have a special kind of interview opportunity for all of you listeners today because I want to talk a little bit about Joe's journey from having a full-time job and doing part-time real estate and part-time wholesaling to quitting his full-time job to be a full-time, all-the-time real estate investor. And Joe and I work together on a lot of deals. Joe's out in the field finding lots and lots of deals for me and for other sort of super buyers or hyper buyers who are out there in the marketplace. So Joe, welcome aboard, my friend. And how are you today?
Good, man. I'm good.
Nice. Just good, huh?
I'm a little nervous to be here, but it's all good though, man.
Yeah.
It's out of my comfort zone, but hey, man, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?
That's right. Yeah. I asked Joe to be on today specifically to get Joe out of his comfort zone. And also, so all of you that are watching this, listening to this, know that, neither one of us are sort of professional speakers. Neither one of us are, I've been doing this for a while, but even I'm not super polished by any means. We're real estate investors, real estate entrepreneurs at our core, at our heart, who love to put out great content for our members. And so, Joe, why don't you just start by telling everybody about that last deal that you just closed out in Elyria? Tell everybody how you found it, the price you got it for, and what you were able to wholesale it for, and how you found your buyer. Let's just start with a cool case study. Go ahead.
All right, cool. Let me see here. So that deal was actually, in Sheffield Lake.
Oh, right, right.
So yeah, man. So that deal actually came in from a direct mail letter. All right. I sent her a letter. Actually, it wasn't a letter. It was a postcard, right? To a pretty big tax delinquent list, maybe about 1,200 names, right? And that was the third time that I mailed that one. It's like when she contacted me, all right? Because most people think that they're gonna send letters out and then get a bunch of first contacts, and that's not the way it is in this business. You have to send multiple times to get people to contact you. You know what I mean? So she contacted me about it, stuff. I went out to the property, I mean, it was pretty rough, I'd say she was somewhat maybe like a hoarder. Okay. Because the whole upstairs was, there was like two dumpsters full of trash up there. Right. Wow. So that's the only reason that I actually even took title of the property. Right. And, instead of just doing an assignment on it, because I wanted to go in there real quick and clean it up real quick, right? Because most times, like when you walk by or store a property that's kind of trashed out, stuff, they want to beat you up on price over it, right? Because that's happened to me a lot in the past, and I knew that if I was actually, able to just get that trash out of there, I could, get more money for it. You know what I mean? So that's what I did, right? So I closed on it, right? Let me see. I actually bought it for, let me see what I bought it for. I actually bought it for $10,000, right? There was $12,000 in back taxes owed on it, but I chose not to pay those off right then. Basically, what I did, is I just assumed the back taxes, right?
Right.
So when the buyer bought it, that's when the back taxes got paid off, right? So basically, I bought it. I bought it for $10,000, and and once I had it, it cost me $500 to get a guy to go in there, man, for a whole day and just clean the whole place out. Like I said, it was 2 12-yard dumpsters full of trash in the house. So once that happened, honestly, man, the first buyer that walked through the property said he wanted it. So I was like, all right, cool, and I ended up, selling to him for, it was $55,000, right? So once the back taxes, were paid and stuff and closing costs, whatever, and I ended up actually netting, it was like $31,000, That was
Nice.
my biggest wholesale deal to date. That was the big, I mean, that was the biggest one, right? The one I did prior, let me see. The next biggest one prior to that was probably 2 years ago. And that one was for 14,000. And at the time I thought, that was big at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? So, it's cool, man. Cause like when you're in this business long enough, man, the checks just get bigger and bigger. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool.
So Joe, that you told me about that deal. We talked about that deal when you had it under contract, but Sheffield Lake is like an hour from me and it's way west and up by the lake, by Lake Erie. So I just, didn't even really, go out to see it or anything like that. I know you had a bunch of buyers already in that market. And so you have, sort of a small group, a small list of super buyers or hyper buyers who bought a lot of properties from you up there on the far sort of northwest side of Cleveland. So tell me about this buyer. How long have you known him? Does he buy properties from you regularly? How are you finding some of your sort of regular recurring sort of super buyers in that core market that you operate in? And people need to know, Joe and I have been working together. I've known Joe for a couple of years. Joe is a former student of ours. And just in the last really 4 to 6 months, Joe is now also working with me a lot, trying to find properties in my market. But my market is really 30 to 45 minutes, almost an hour from Joe's sort of core market where he's been operating for the past 5 years or so. So we're really 2 separate markets. So there's really 2 sets, Joe, of kind of super buyers that we're talking about. You have your super buyers out in the Elyria, Sheffield, Lorraine market. And then there's me and some other buyers that you have more in the Cuyahoga County, Medina County market. So that particular buyer, where did they come from?
Okay, so let me see. I actually met him, man, through a friend of mine, right? And let me see. He's actually bought some cheap rentals from me in the past, right? I think I might have wholesaled him probably 2 or 3 properties, right? And then just last year he said he when I started doing rehabs, because he actually uses private money to fund his deals. You know what I mean? So, so I've kind of walked him through some rehabs in the past, but I mean, he just wasn't interested in them. You know what I mean? But then, I don't know, maybe like a month or 2 before I even had that property, right? He actually contacted me and asked if I had anything available. At the time I said, no, not yet. You know what I mean? So when I did get that one under contract, I kind of, knew like he was going to be interested in it, because I know, you know what I mean? So when you deal with your buyers for a long period of time and they buy from you, I mean, you kind of know like what they pay, you know what I mean? And that's one thing too that I, wanted to discuss real quick, is like when I first started doing this wholesaling business, I thought, like I had to have like, this huge buyers list with like 1,000 people on it, right? Because that was the only way to make money. And that's what you're taught to do in the beginning, is just, build that buyers list, right? But that's, that's kind of theory, to be honest, because honestly, probably 2 or 3 years ago, man, I, threw my buyers list away, and I just started wholesaling, all my deals to the same 5 or 6 buyers, because most of the other buyers on the list were just tire kickers. Like I said, I mean, you send them deals and stuff and they never respond back to you. So that's not even a buyer. You know what I mean? That's not an actual buyer to say that's on your list, because, you know what I mean? So like, and that's like when I started closing a lot of deals, is like when I just, sent the deals to the same, is like 5 or 6 buyers, like I said, who had cash, who were looking for deals, didn't, like waste my time, right? They close in 2 weeks or less than that even, so that's, something that I would say to guys starting out, is like, you just need to have a couple of guys, man, who close, you know what I mean? And, and you're, yeah.
Yeah, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. And you find somebody like my friend Justin down in the Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati market. He wholesaled 16 properties to the same buyer in 1 year. Joe and I, just in the last 3 or 4 months, I bought 4 properties with Joe, and same sort of criteria. I'm looking for bigger rehab projects, but I've also bought a 2-family rental, and we could close quickly. I mean, every single one of those deals, once we were committed to closing them, I think we're maybe 10 days or 2 weeks. Like that deal on Detroit Road, I think it was, once we finalized the deal, we had the seller under contract. It was like the guy was going out of town April 15th.
Yeah.
And you can close when I get back from vacation. I'm like, how about we close now? And we closed, I don't know, we had that thing under contract in like late March, and we closed April 1st. So, you know, just got to have people that can close, people that are professionals. And one of the easy things to do is when you meet a buyer, and what I do is I like to see proof. So when I meet a buyer or somebody that says that they're doing a lot of deals, say, okay, show me your portfolio, or show me a PowerPoint presentation, show me a resume, give me some addresses, give me something other than just you're interested. Give me something showing me the deals that you've closed, because I just don't want to waste my time. In today's day, there's plenty of sellers, plenty of buyers, there's tons of private money, but what we don't have is a lot of time. So Joe, with that group of 3, 4, 5 buyers, tell me about them. How did you get to kind of work with them over time, build a relationship with them, and consistently go back to them and kind of get them to reveal their criteria so you could just go find inventory for them?
No, yeah. And that's, the one thing that's cool too about like working with the same buyers over and over. I mean, is like you build up like a really good rapport with them, you know what I mean? Really good relationships with them. So like when you're walking them through a house that's occupied, for example, like you don't have to worry about, like walking, 20 buyers through a house, you know what I mean? You like you pretty much know, like if, certain buyers will buy that property or not, you know what I mean? And that kind of helps you get your deal sold faster, in my opinion. All right, let me see. The very first buyer that I ever actually, got basically, because like I said, when I first started doing this, I was like, looking for buyers because I had none, right? So I went to, let me see what website it was. I think it was, I want to say it was realtor.com, right? And it sent a bunch of emails to realtors on there saying, hey, look, I'm just going to start in this business. I'm going to find a bunch of deals, right? I'm looking for good buyers, and I said to him, I said, hey, if I find a really good deal and like I, show it to you and you have a buyer who buys it, I'll pay you $500 when it closes, right? I sent it to like 100 people, right? And there was one realtor who responded to me and said, yeah, right. And that she had a buyer who bought my first deal from me. And I think I ended up, selling him probably 20 properties over the past couple of years. You know what I mean? But that's one way to find buyers, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, that's, that was actually the very first buyer that I got, you know what I mean? So,
a lot of times, another good way to find buyers, especially super buyers, is to find out a lot of times to maybe co-wholesale a deal with somebody. And what I mean is you have other wholesalers that have inventory, and those inventory that they often work with the same buyers, but buyers are looking for more inventory. So you say, listen, to the wholesalers, listen, you have some buyers, I have inventory. So if you let me wholesale to your buyer or introduce me to your buyer, and I bring the deal, the seller deal, we can co-wholesale it together, split the fee somehow, and get introduced to another buyer. Other ways, pretty simple, guys. I mean, right now the market's hot. People are looking for inventory. You've got lots and lots of people doing like We Buy Houses marketing, bandit signs, postcards. You go into a house and you see that a seller sometimes will have a stack of letters or postcards, right? And they'll sometimes keep them. And if they called you, then you're good to go. They're going to call you and you're like, okay, great. Well, show me those postcards. Show me those letters. Who did you get those from? And you just hang on to those, especially if you have buddies who own a lot of rental properties. A lot of people who own rentals are on these motivated seller lists because they're out-of-town landlords or they're out-of-town owners, or they're not owner-occupied. So they're on a lot of direct mail lists. And they receive lots of postcards and letters, but they really don't want to sell their rental portfolios. But when they do receive those postcards and letters, tell your buddy, hey, give me those postcards, give me those letters. I want to call those people who are marketing to these people, they're other real estate investors, and find out who they are. Are they a wholesaler? Are they a rehabber? Are they a renter? Can you co-wholesale with them? Those are all different ways.
Oh, yeah. One thing real quick too, Josh, right now, man, I mean, because the market is, so hot, there's investors coming out, what I'm saying, man, crazy, right? I like to post deals right now, like going like in a Craigslist, because you'll get a lot of people contacting you daily for those properties, I mean, Craigslist right now is hot, for finding buyers right now, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, that's always a good one because, you can't really market a property on the MLS, unless you did like you did, Joe. You buy it, you take it down, and even if you're wholesaling it, you actually use your own cash or funding to close on it. Close on it for a minute, and then try to find a buyer so you can get the property cleaned out and then sell. You know, our friend Darren did the same thing. He had a property on Gill Drive in Lakewood, and he worked with the seller and negotiated a price for $68,000. He closed on it, bought it, put it right back on the MLS, cleaned it out, put it right back on the MLS a week to 10 days later, sold it for $135,000. So Darren got a $50,000 wholesale fee, and he, you know, maybe owned the property for 3 weeks or something like that. So, but that's still a wholesale deal. You just got to have funding for a minute. So when people talk about real estate, especially wholesaling, you can do it with no cash and no credit. You can do it by finding buyers from Craigslist or finding buyers from direct mail. You can do it then by bringing those buyers, some of those hyper buyers, going back and co-wholesaling deals with investors and wholesalers that already have seller inventory. And you're just going to get probably half the fee or a third of the fee or 60% of the fee. You're not going to get it all. You're going to co-wholesale it, but it's really just about finding those couple of hyper buyers. But trust me, you're going to lose out on some deals if you have no money at all. Ideally, you want some private money or some cash or some sort of line of credit, because like Joe just did that little $10,000 deal. But if he didn't have the cash to close that 10 grand, the other buyers probably would have come in and they would have seen all the trash, all the garbage, and they probably would have lowballed the offer, right? So there's not just one way to wholesale. There's a couple different types of strategies. Assignment deals are great, right? But closing on them sometimes and cleaning them out, you'll get more money for them by being able to do that too.
Exactly. And I've lost, honestly, man, say probably $300,000 over the past 6 years of doing this, simply because I had to take less offers for my properties, just because I didn't, have, access, funding to buy a property, to maybe clean it out or something like that. You know what I mean? And then you end up taking half of a fee, maybe, for example, like, what you said. That's happened to me countless times when I was doing this business, and it sucks. You know what I mean? It sucks. It sucks knowing you could probably make 30 grand on a deal, but you got to wholesale it for, for 5 or 10, it sucks, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So Joe, tell everybody a little bit about that deal in Brecksville, one of the newest ones that we talked about, and just some numbers on it. Again, working with some different buyers on it. How did you find it? What's the exit strategy? How are you getting some more buyers through it? And what does that deal look like for you?
So yeah, man. So that one's based. Let me see. So that was a referral, actually, right? They called me up because they know what I do, and stuff. They know this is my business now, full time stuff, So they wanted to give me the opportunity to buy the property. So I was like, all right, cool, So I want to look at it, and stuff. And it's kind of funny, because sometimes if you just walk through with the homeowner, stuff, just let them talk about things, okay? Because they'll beat the property up themselves. You know what I mean? Like I was walking through the house, and stuff, and he's, saying, oh yeah, the house is a mess, and stuff, it needs to be updated and all that stuff. I'm thinking, yeah, it needs to be updated, but it's like not a mess, you know what I mean? So the buyer, or I'm sorry, not the buyer, the seller just kept beating the property up in his own mind about the house, saying it's, it's a wreck, but it really wasn't, right? So, the property is in, a good, it's like a good area, I ran comps on it, and stuff, and the comps out at around 240, 250, right? And I was actually able to get it under for like, it was, for 115, right? And I thought the rehab on it was anywhere, from 35 to maybe 40-ish, whatever stuff. So that's what he was using to show buyers, and stuff. And actually, I put the one on Craigslist just to get some feedback, just to see, because you never know like who's looking for a property, right? You might put something on Craigslist or something up for sale at the right time, right? Then you have a buyer, you have a buyer who wants to pay retail for it, right? And that happens, Yes. And stuff. So basically, let me see, I threw it up on Craigslist, and stuff, and I received probably 6, people, who want to see it, and stuff, but I'm looking at like possibly, I think with those numbers, and I feel, pretty confident with the numbers on this one, but I think, I could, probably wholesale it and maybe make like $40,000 or $50,000 assignment fee on it. As far as like an exit strategy on that one, I don't like, I don't think I'm going to take title to it. Right. Cause it doesn't really need to be cleaned out or anything, I talked, to the seller and, he's actually gonna get a dumpster over there to clean out all the stuff on their own. You know what I'm saying? So when, So when that stuff's all out, then, it's, and, it's ready to go. So, but that's a pretty hot area, Brecksville.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's and that's the thing. Like, so people will probably be wondering, like, what is the structure? How does it work with Josh and Joe? So let's just talk about that for a quick minute. So, Joe quit his job and wanted to be in real estate full time, and Joe has already been doing real estate for 3 or 4 or 5 years. So Joe and I are not like formal partners, but we have an agreement, sort of a gentleman's sort of handshake agreement. And we wrote some things down on paper as far as some splits and stuff. But Joe does marketing on his own, spends his own money, whether it's postcards or for Facebook or for letters, or just goes out in the field and does his own thing, networks with his own people. That's his own lead. He can do whatever he wants with that deal. He's his own businessman. He's his own business. And he's, he is trying to give me sort of the right of first refusal because I'm a super buyer. I buy properties all the time and I have cash to close like in an instant. So Joe said, hey, I'll give you right of first refusal on every deal, but I'm not shoehorning Joe into like, he doesn't have to sell every one of those properties to me. I want Joe to be successful. I want Joe to make money. My phone's going off. And I want Joe to be successful. So that's one arrangement where Joe just gives me an opportunity to buy it. If I want it, great. We agree on a price. Joe gets a wholesale fee. Then on top of that, I spend money on marketing, direct mail, postcards, Facebook ads, et cetera, et cetera. All those leads go to Joe. And Joe, because I have multiple businesses and things that I'm doing, strategic real estate coach, freelance, my own investments, rentals, commercial buildings, et cetera. Joe loves to be in the field looking for properties, talking to sellers. Like it's and he's really, really good at it. So just so we can each kind of do what we're really good at, all those leads that I'm basically paying for go to Joe. They go through our software. He follows up, calls on those, and he works on all those. And then same thing. If it's a deal, gets under contract, I'm going to buy it. If I don't buy it, then Joe and I are going to wholesale those together back to the marketplace. And so that's a different sort of structure. So it's kind of fun that, Joe's doing his own thing in his markets, because Joe and I live about 45 minutes apart. And then we also have this kind of arrangement together. And really, if you're a new wholesaler, you have to be able to bring value to the table. And if you're an experienced rehabber, investor, or landlord, you have to be able to bring value to the table. And what Joe and I do for each other is we're allowing each other to kind of do what we're already good at. I'm good at raising money and buying those more expensive properties, and I want to do big flips. Joe is, really likes to talk with motivated sellers, is really good in front of a seller in building rapport and finding deals, and then selling those to me or selling those to another super buyer. So Joe, why don't you just comment on that for a minute, kind of that arrangement, and then also just how does it feel for you on a day-to-day basis to kind of be doing what you really like and kind of be focused on working with sellers on the phone, kind of really enjoying that versus, we all had a previous job that we maybe didn't really like that much, right? So how does that feel for you?
No, yeah, man. I didn't mind my previous job, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do. I'd be there for for like 8 hours, and I'd be thinking about real estate. I'd be like, man, I could be out, looking at houses right now, making, making more money doing deals, and stuff. But I'm, here for 8 hours, So that was something that would beat me up every single day, man. And it's, and that sucks. But so that's why, like when me and you got together, and stuff, and you made me that offer, to come join you and stuff, I said, man, this is, that was like a no-brainer for me. Because you were giving me the chance, to do what I wanted to do full time. I said, man, I have to jump on this, so that's what I did. Because honestly, I was a little nervous. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, leaving the job, you know, I mean, getting that guaranteed money in 2 weeks, you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, you know, and then the money stopped coming in. And I was like, crap, you know, I gotta jump on the ball with this stuff, you know, but this is what I love to do, man. I love the, you know what I mean, man, just going out there and stuff, looking at houses every day, you know, stuff, making offers on properties, you know, even though, you know, I mean, sometimes, you know, like you have to like, you know, make really low offers just to get something accepted, but that's, you know, but that's just, you know, part of the business, you know, and that's something that, you know, people need to realize when they start this business, you know, is like you have to get, you know, things cheap because you can't move properties, man. You can't move properties that are retail right now. You know what I'm saying? Not to investors anyways, that's for damn sure. You know what I mean? You got to be out there, you know, and stuff. And, you know, I mean, you can't be afraid to make those low offers, you know, and stuff, and offer on anything that crosses your desk, you know, because you don't know what the seller's thinking. You know what I mean? You can't, you know what I mean? So that's something that, you know, that I've had, you know, to learn over the years, you know, is like, you can't, you know, think for the seller, right? You can, you know, hear what they say, but I mean, once you run the numbers, you need, you know, I mean, that's what you need to stick by, you know what I mean? Stick by the numbers or else you'll be stuck with a property that you can't sell. And that, you know, that's not a fun feeling. So,
yeah, I've been telling students of ours, if you're not embarrassed by your offer, you paid too much.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. You know what I mean? Because it sucks too. It sucks too. Like when you want to go low, but you really don't because you want to get the deal. Then you make them that first offer. This happened to me one time, right? I made some lady an offer, you know, and stuff. And she kind of laughed. She's like, you know, she's like, oh wow, really? Okay. And I was like, oh, I offered too much. You know what I mean?
Right.
That sucks too, you know?
Yeah. So Joe, well, just one more question and then we'll wrap up here. But is there anything special that you do to stay in touch with? So you're sort of the top of mind reference, the top of mind for your super buyers, people like me and your other buyers. What are things that you do to stay in touch with them? And is it as simple as text and email? What are you doing to kind of always be in front of them, building a relationship with them so they're always looking to you for inventory?
Oh yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't even, let me see, like, I don't, you know, send emails anymore, right? I mean, basically, you know, just texting, you know what I mean? Because they get that, you know, like that, you know what I mean? You know, I mean, I've actually, you know, gone, let me see, like maybe going out, you know, to lunch with them sometimes, you know, whatever stuff, just to kind of keep it fresh, you know, whatever stuff, and just kind of let them know, say, hey, look, you know, like I'm going to be bringing you guys some, you know, some really good deals here, you know what I mean? So I need you to act fast when I do bring them, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they know the deals that I bring to the table. I've actually, you know, had some of the buyers in the past, you know, ask me like, hey, you know, like what, you know, like they walk through a property with me and their first thought is like, hey, you know, like what's wrong with the property? I'm like, nothing's wrong with it. Why you ask me that? They're like, well, you know, because you're selling it so cheap, you know, and I'm just like, hey man, this is what I do. I find really good deals, you know what I mean? And that's one thing that I think, you know, has like really helped me over the years, you know, is just to be able to just keep finding those deals, you know what I mean, that make the investors go, holy crap, that's a smoking deal, right? That's what I told you from the get-go. I said, hey man, my goal, you know, is to bring you that deal, man, that makes your jaw drop and go, holy crap, how did you get that deal? You know what I mean? That's like my goal. That's my goal, you know, and that's just what I think about, you know, every day, because that's how you have to think about this business, you know, because you know what I'm saying? Because you're looking for that next deal. And so. That's awesome.
So Joe, last question. So how does it feel to be unemployed and be like living your dream, man? How does it really feel? You're recently married. You know, kind of your whole life is different this year than it was 2 years ago.
No, yeah, man. You know what? I don't know. It took me 2 or 3 weeks to kind of, you know, to adjust to it, you know what I mean? Because I don't know, it felt, you know, really weird the first 2 or 3 weeks, you know what I mean? Because all my friends are going back to work and I was just, you know, I'm just like, okay, you know, so what am I doing? You know what I mean? But I had to, you know, get like into, you know, the perfect routine, I thought, you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to, you know, just be at home, you know, sitting on the couch and not doing anything, you know what I mean? Because that was, you know what I mean, man, because then I have to go back to work, you know? So I said, you know, hey man, I need to find the perfect routine for myself, you know, that keeps me going, you know, every day. You know what I mean? I've had, you know, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 routines, man, that I've had, you know, kind of work around, you know, and stuff. And the current one that I'm on right now is actually, I get up around maybe like 3:45 in the morning, and I'm at the gym at 5 o'clock. You You know what I mean? Usually leave the gym at 6, you know, stuff, go home, quick, eat, take my son to school, and then I start, you know, start the day off, you know what I mean? Which might be going on the podio or something like that, you know what I mean? Maybe Freedom Software looking at houses or something. But the key when you're doing this business full time is just, you know, is just stay active, you know what I mean? Because it's real easy to sit on the couch and then, you know, lose 2 hours of time. You know what I mean? I try not to come home and all during the day. You know what I mean? I want to stay out, you know what I mean? Stay in the field, stay active, look at houses, you know what I mean? But, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm actually, you know, I'm having fun with this, you know? I mean, some days might be a little stressful, you know what I mean? But I mean, this is what I've been wanting to do for so long, you know? So I'm very, very grateful. You know what I mean? I get to pick up, you know, my son from school, you know, every single day, which is great. You know what I mean? So, you know, never had that option before in the past. So that's cool.
I was walking a long distance home from school in the past too. So you picking them up and having something.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. It's great. Right. Yeah. So
that's awesome, man. Well, listen, Joe, thanks for joining us today, man. Let's go find another deal. Let's go make some more money together, huh?
Heck yeah, man. I'm actually going to look at a house in Avon Lake at 2:00 today.
Nice.
That's a podio lead, by the way. That's a podio lead.
Nice. Yeah. That's a great market too. Avon Lake's a hot market, big expensive houses out there. So look forward to that. So, well, listen, if this is one of your first interviews that you caught with me, welcome. So happy that you're able to join us. Joe, great job, my friend. Appreciate your input today. And somewhere on this page, there's probably a spot where you could leave like a comment or a question or a review. Go ahead and leave that right on this page, wherever it's at. We appreciate your feedback. We'll answer your questions and look forward to catching you on our next expert interview. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye. Thanks, Josh.